You have been told your vitamin D is normal. Your doctor checked it. The number came back in range. You felt relieved. But here is something nobody told you about that test. The standard vitamin D blood test measures the inactive storage form of vitamin D in your blood. It does not measure what is actually happening inside your cells. It does not measure whether vitamin D is reaching your tissues. It does not measure whether your receptors are functioning. And it does not tell you whether the vitamin D in your blood is actually being converted into the active form your body uses. This means your vitamin D test can come back perfectly normal while your cells are running on empty. Sound familiar? We covered the exact same problem with magnesium in the last video. And it is the same problem with vitamin D. The test your doctor runs tells you almost nothing about what is actually happening at the cellular level. Here is the number that should alarm you. Studies estimate that between 40 and 90% of Americans are deficient in vitamin D. Not 5%, not 10%. Between 40 and 90% depending on which measurement standard you use. That means when you look at a room of 10 people, between 4 and 9 of them are running dangerously low on the one vitamin that controls their immune system, their mood, their bone density, their cancer protection, their cardiovascular health, and their hormonal function, all simultaneously. And most of them have a blood test that says they are fine. Vitamin D is technically not a vitamin at all. It is a hormone. It behaves like a hormone, it is produced like a hormone, and it controls gene expression the way no true vitamin does. Vitamin D interacts with over 2,500 genes in the human body. That is 10% of your entire genome being directly regulated by a single compound that most people are critically short on. Every single immune cell in your body has vitamin D receptors. Your brain has vitamin D receptors. Your heart has vitamin D receptors. Your thyroid has vitamin D receptors, and we covered in video 8 how thyroid function affects every aspect of your metabolic health. When vitamin D is adequate, all of these systems have what they need to function. When vitamin D is deficient, all of them begin to fail simultaneously and quietly, producing symptoms so nonspecific that doctors attribute them to stress, aging, or simply tell you nothing is wrong. Let me give you the 10 signs that your vitamin D is critically low right now, including several that will genuinely surprise you. Sign 1. You get sick more often than other people around you. Vitamin D is the single most important regulator of your immune system. It activates T cells, the soldiers of your immune response, and regulates the inflammatory cascade that determines how aggressively your body responds to pathogens. People with low vitamin D are significantly more susceptible to respiratory infections, autoimmune flares, and chronic low-grade inflammation. If you catch every cold that passes through your environment, your vitamin D is almost certainly insufficient. Sign 2. You feel sad, anxious, or depressed, especially in winter. Vitamin D directly regulates serotonin synthesis in the brain. The seasonal pattern of depression that millions of people experience, feeling worse in winter and better in summer, is not psychological. It is biochemical. It is a direct consequence of reduced sun exposure and therefore reduced vitamin D production, driving serotonin down. If your mood consistently worsens in the colder months, this is not who you are. This is what your vitamin D is doing. Sign 3. Persistent bone or muscle pain with no obvious injury. Vitamin D is essential for calcium absorption and bone mineralization. When vitamin D is low, calcium cannot be properly deposited into bone, and the body actually pulls calcium from bones to maintain blood levels. This creates a painful condition called osteomalacia, a softening of the bones, that produces diffuse aching pain throughout the skeleton that is often misdiagnosed as fibromyalgia or chronic pain syndrome. Sign 4. Excessive head sweating, one of the most overlooked and most specific signs of vitamin D deficiency. If your head sweats disproportionately, soaking pillowcases, drenching hair during minimal exertion, this is not a quirk. This is one of the earliest and most specific physical signs that vitamin D receptors are not functioning correctly. Pediatricians have known this for decades, but it is rarely communicated to adult patients. Sign 5. You are always tired, and sleep does not fix it. Vitamin D has receptors in the regions of the brain that regulate sleep and wakefulness. Deficiency disrupts the sleep-wake cycle, impairs melatonin regulation, and reduces the quality of deep sleep. This produces the specific type of fatigue where you sleep 8 hours and still wake up exhausted, the same fatigue we attributed to magnesium deficiency in the last video. These two deficiencies almost always coexist and compound each other. Sign 6. Hair loss. Vitamin D plays a direct role in the activation of hair follicle stem cells. When vitamin D is insufficient, these stem cells go dormant, producing diffuse hair thinning that worsens progressively without an obvious cause. This is particularly common in women and is frequently misattributed to thyroid dysfunction, when in reality both the thyroid problem and the hair loss may share the same root cause, vitamin D deficiency. Sign 7. Wounds heal slowly. Vitamin D stimulates the production of cathelicidin, an antimicrobial peptide that is essential for tissue repair. When vitamin D is low, wound healing slows significantly, cuts take longer to close, infections are harder to clear, and post-surgical recovery is extended. Sign 8. Chronic gut problems, bloating, leaky gut, or inflammatory bowel symptoms. Vitamin D is a powerful regulator of gut barrier function and gut immune activity. Low vitamin D is strongly associated with increased intestinal permeability, what is commonly called leaky gut, which drives systemic inflammation and autoimmune activity. If you covered gut health in our series and still have digestive symptoms, vitamin D may be the missing layer. Sign 9. High blood pressure that does not respond well to lifestyle changes. Vitamin D regulates the renin-angiotensin system, the hormonal pathway that controls blood pressure. Low vitamin D keeps this system in a state of chronic activation, raising blood pressure independently of diet, exercise, or stress. This is why some people do everything right with blood pressure and still cannot normalize it without addressing their vitamin D. Sign 10. Brain fog and cognitive decline, especially difficulty with word retrieval and short-term memory. Vitamin D receptors are densely present in the hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory formation. Low vitamin D is independently associated with accelerated cognitive decline and higher rates of dementia. If you notice that your thinking has become slower, your memory less reliable, or your ability to find words is declining, this is not just aging. This is a modifiable condition with a measurable cause. How many of those 10 signs applied to you? 3 or more means your vitamin D warrants urgent attention. Now the reason most vitamin D supplementation does not work. This is the part that changes everything. Most people who are told they are vitamin D deficient take a supplement. Their next blood test shows the number improved. Their doctor says they are fixed. And they still feel exactly the same. Here is why. The blood test measures the inactive storage form of vitamin D called 25-hydroxyvitamin D. This form stays in the blood for weeks and builds up easily with supplementation. But it is not the active form. The active form is called 1,25-dihydroxyvitamin D, or calcitriol. This conversion from inactive to active happens primarily in the kidneys and requires two things that most deficient people are also lacking: magnesium and zinc. Without adequate magnesium, which we covered in the last video, vitamin D cannot convert to its active form. This means you can have a completely normal vitamin D blood test, take vitamin D supplements every day, and still be functionally deficient at the cellular level because your cells cannot access the active form. This is the most common reason vitamin D supplementation fails. It is not being converted. There are two more cofactors that determine whether your vitamin D is actually working. Vitamin K2. When you take vitamin D, it increases calcium absorption from the gut. Without vitamin K2, that calcium has nowhere specific to go. It accumulates in soft tissues, in arteries, in joints, in kidneys, rather than going into bones where it belongs. Vitamin K2 acts as a traffic director, routing calcium into bones and away from soft tissues. Taking high-dose vitamin D without K2 is one of the most common and most dangerous supplementation mistakes in modern health. Every 5,000 to 10,000 IU of vitamin D you take should be accompanied by 100 to 200 micrograms of vitamin K2 in the -7 Malawian kwacha's form. Did you know that over 80% of people watching this channel are not subscribed? You have just been given the information that explains why vitamin D supplementation fails for millions of people, and exactly how to fix it. If this series has changed how you understand your health, hit subscribe right now. It takes 1 second and it keeps this content coming. Now the protocol. The correct vitamin D supplementation protocol requires 4 components taken together. Component 1. Vitamin D3, not D2. D3 is the form produced by sunlight on skin and is 3 times more potent at raising blood levels than the synthetic D2 form that is commonly prescribed by conventional medicine. Dose: 5,000 to 10,000 IU of vitamin D3 daily with food containing fat. Vitamin D is fat-soluble and absorption drops significantly without dietary fat. Component 2. Vitamin K2 -7 Malawian kwachas. 100 to 200 micrograms daily. This is non-negotiable alongside vitamin D. K2 directs calcium into bones and protects arteries from calcification. Component 3. Magnesium glycinate. 300 to 400 milligrams in the evening. This enables the conversion of inactive D to active calcitriol. Without it, your supplement does nothing at the cellular level. We covered this in detail in the last video. Component 4. Zinc. 15 to 25 milligrams daily with food. Zinc is the 4th cofactor in the vitamin D activation pathway and is also frequently deficient in people with vitamin D problems. It also directly supports thyroid function, connecting back to what we covered in video 8. The food sources highest in vitamin D: fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, egg yolks from pasture-raised chickens, beef liver, and cod liver oil, which is the most concentrated food source available. Sun exposure remains the most effective way to raise vitamin D levels. 20 to 30 minutes of midday sun on large areas of skin without sunscreen produces approximately 10,000 to 20,000 IU of vitamin D in a fair-skinned person. But for most people in northern latitudes during winter months, this is simply not possible and supplementation becomes essential. One more connection that makes this entire series click into place. Vitamin D deficiency worsens insulin resistance by impairing insulin receptor signaling, directly connecting to videos 4 through 6. Vitamin D deficiency drives cortisol dysregulation by impairing the adrenal stress response, directly connecting to video 7. Vitamin D deficiency impairs thyroid hormone conversion by competing for the same cofactors, directly connecting to video 8. Vitamin D deficiency depletes magnesium because the conversion process consumes it, directly connecting to video 9. And vitamin D deficiency impairs liver function by increasing inflammation in the hepatic tissue, directly connecting to videos 1 through 3. This is not a standalone topic. This is the missing layer in the entire system we have built across this series. Start with 5,000 IU of vitamin D3 with K2 and magnesium tonight. Not tomorrow. Tonight. Get your 25-hydroxyvitamin D tested, and also ask for your 1,25-dihydroxyvitamin D, the active form, to see whether your conversion pathway is working. Comment below with your current vitamin D level if you have been tested. Write the number. I want to know how deficient the people watching this series actually are. This is general educational content only. Always consult your physician before making changes to your health regimen or supplement routine. See you in the next one.